Hello and welcome back to the Love Machine podcast. Now, today I've got a very special topic for you, which is all about learning to be your own matchmaker. So many of us are looking to meet someone amazing, but we don't know how to do that or what steps we need to take to find someone that is equally as wonderful as we are. So today I'm very pleased to be joined by a special guest, a matchmaker extraordinaire, Amber Artis. Now, Amber is the founder of Select Date Society, which is a boutique matchmaking firm representing clients all through the United States. Amber, luckily for this podcast, is a certified matchmaker and certified strategic intervention coach with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. And she has been a professional matchmaker since 1998. She combines her experience, her knowledge, and her intuition to help her clients find their perfect match. So, Amber, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. I have got a very interesting topic today, and it's one that I know that you know all about. So I wanted to get you on here just to talk to my listeners, talk to me, and tell me what your thoughts are on this wonderful topic about being your own matchmaker.
Yeah, I really think that everybody has the ability to be their own matchmaker. It's wonderful if you can hire a professional to get it done for you. But if you don't have that option, you can certainly do it on your own. I just have some tips. If you don't mind, I'll share with you kind of my thoughts on the subject.
Please do. Let me know.
So the first thing, and this is for the women, I think women, it's so important to know that you need to be able to make the first move. I think a lot of times women wait for men to make the first move. And what we don't realize, oftentimes they're afraid of rejection, so much so that it paralyzes them. They're often afraid to actually approach women if we don't give really clear signals. In fact, the way I met my own significant other 10 years ago was I made the first move. I saw him in a grocery store. I said, wow, this is a really handsome man. I'm a matchmaker. So of course I looked to see if there was a wedding ring on his finger. There wasn't. And so I actually went up and approached him and introduced myself. Now I have the luxury of being a matchmaker. So my opening line was, are you single? I'm a matchmaker. But anyone can do that. Anyone can go up and make the first move. And I would really encourage women to do so.
I definitely agree with you. I tell all my dating coaching clients the same thing. If you sit around waiting for a guy to approach you, you can have a very, very long wait. Because
Yes.
men can't read signals. Men don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to be rejected, like you said. And it's a hard thing to do. So going up and saying hello is a good thing to do. Or maybe asking a question. Maybe they can ask them what coffee they're drinking or what cake they're going to buy, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's very brave. You went up and met your husband and you introduced yourself. So that just proves that it works, doesn't it?
Yep. And I talk to women all the time who say, oh my gosh, I wish I would have done that. They literally can think of a time when they saw somebody that they wanted to meet, but they were too afraid to do so. So yeah, I would say women definitely take control, make the first move. The other piece of advice I would have is just don't prejudge people. I think in general, it's easy to stereotype people. If your friend says, I have this great guy I want you to meet, he's an engineer, don't respond by saying, oh, engineers are so boring. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I can tell you that sometimes stereotypes hold true, but more often than not, they do not. So don't prejudge people. I think all matchmakers will tell you that we don't read a book by its cover. We stay open-minded. You just never know what's going to happen when you put two people together.
You're right. Some people like to judge people by their exes and the exes' problems, the exes' mistakes. But every person you meet is a whole new person who can make their own mistakes.
Yeah.
They can prove to you that they're an individual. You can't judge people based on something that someone else did to you in the past. Therefore, don't expect someone to treat you badly just because your ex did. Don't expect someone to be able to read your mind. It doesn't happen that way. So give people a chance. That's a great tip.
Yeah. My third tip would be to talk to people everywhere. Most matchmakers are super outgoing and kind of known as busybodies, and they talk to people everywhere they go. Now, you don't have to be outgoing to do this. I'm actually an introvert. Naturally, I'm very introverted, but I've kind of trained myself to do this. And so if you're single, you have to make eye contact, you have to smile at everyone you meet, and don't be afraid to strike up a conversation with a stranger. I think that sometimes we limit ourselves to our own circle of friends and close ourselves off to the rest of the world. And if you truly want to be your own matchmaker, if you want to find that perfect match, you just have to be more open. You have to make yourself, even if it's uncomfortable for the first time you do it, after a few times you'll get comfortable with it.
It will. It's not always an easy thing for people to do initially. It's putting yourself out there and starting conversations with complete strangers. But by doing so, it's all good practice for when you do meet someone that you're attracted to, and you never know who that person you're speaking to. You don't know who they're going to introduce you to. You don't know who they might know. They might have a brother or a sister or someone who's just perfect for you. So do talk to everyone, because it might also make their day. People don't like talking to people, particularly over here in the UK. We're all very reserved and don't like to start conversations, apart from the weather. That's a very common topic. But talk to everyone that you can. That's wonderful advice. Thank you.
Yeah. And then my next tip kind of goes right with that, which is enlist recruiters. So full-time professional matchmakers have a team of recruiters who are working full-time on finding the right matches for their clients. And you can enlist recruiters in your own life, your friends, your family, your colleagues. Make sure you tell the people around you that you're actively searching, that you're single and interested in meeting someone, and they can be your team of recruiters. They can be on the lookout for great matches for you.
They can. How would you get your friends and family to do that? Because I recommend even something as simple as a text or maybe a Facebook message saying to them, look, I'm single, I'm ready to meet someone. If you happen to know someone, let me know. What advice would you give someone to do that?
Yeah, that's great advice. The first step is just letting them know, yes, I'm single and interested, but then also reminding them, following up with them. So with my team of recruiters, for example, if I have, a handsome man, 50 years old in Washington, D.C., and we're still looking for the right match for him, not only do I tell them once, but I remind them on a weekly basis, hey, we have this great guy we're recruiting for. Who do you have? Who can you talk to this week? And so it's important to tell your friends and family that you're open and interested, but also to remind them on a regular basis so that they keep it on their radar.
The more people you have working for you, the more chance you have of meeting someone. Because every single person's out there. If you connect with 10 people, friends and family, and they all happen to know 3 people, that's 30 people you could be meeting within 2 weeks anyway. So absolutely. I know that matchmakers often do have headhunters and recruiters who work for them, and they're paid a commission sometimes to go out and do that on your behalf.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the other tip I have is just to study how to have a successful relationship. You want to set yourself up for success. And so matchmakers are constantly studying the subject of love and relationships. So, I would be reading books, listening to podcasts like your podcast, The Love Machine, taking courses. Tony Robbins has an awesome course that I give to all my clients called the Ultimate Relationship Program. So you really want to set yourself up for success to really understand how the opposite sex thinks, how their brain works. And so that when you do meet the right person, you can have a successful relationship.
Absolutely. The more things you have in your arsenal, the better. They're just tools you're going to have for more knowledge. Knowledge is power. And by learning how the other person is thinking, you'll be able to communicate better and interact with them and have a longer lasting, more successful relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then the last piece of advice I have is just to perfect your profile and photos. So this is something I'm sure you coach your clients on. And matchmakers, we have profiles of our clients. And a lot of times if somebody submits a profile and they just don't give us enough information, or they provide us just kind of a boring headshot that you would see like on LinkedIn, I always reach out and say, hey, we need some fun pictures who show who you are. If somebody has a dog, we need a photo of you and your dog. We need to see who you are as a person. And so it's okay to have somebody else look at your profile. I'd be very open to constructive criticism and advice from friends and family, people who know you well. Have them take a look and tell you their honest opinion. And don't go to that friend who's just going to tell you, oh, those are great pictures. That sounds great. Go to your brutally honest friend who's going to give you really open advice and feedback, and really implement that advice. Because if you're dating on online sites or apps or anything like that, you really need to craft a really great profile.
You do, otherwise you won't stand out. You'll just blend in with all the other generic profiles that are out there. I try and teach my dating coaching clients to be the top 10% on online dating sites and dating apps, because they want to meet the top 10% that's on there. So how do you do that? You have to work on your profile, have amazing pictures, and then of course have really, really good messages that you're sending out. Again, not boring, generic nonsense ones like, hi, how are you? How's lockdown going? How was your weekend? Everyone sends them. And you have to stand out so that they remember you and they want to date you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think anybody can be your own matchmaker. You just really have to make it a goal, set it as a priority in your life. And then, sometimes when you set goals, it's important just to reflect on them every single day. So if you have a morning routine, implement that into your morning routine. If you journal at the end of the day, make sure you're journaling about your pursuit of meeting the one, and go after it. Go out there like you would go after any other goal in life. Make it a goal, make it a priority, and don't be afraid to go after it.
It's about experimenting. People don't always know what they want. So if you don't know, how are you ever going to know if you meet someone if they're a good match or not? So go out there and test the water. See what sort of people are out there who you really might like. Because as a matchmaker, I'm sure you realise people think they want something, and in reality, it's something completely different. Their perfect match could be a completely different person.
I can tell you, I've been doing this for 23 years. And out of all the love couples, the couples I put together who have fallen in love and stayed in love, none of them match each other's preferences 100%. There's always this list you have in your mind of what your dream person looks like, and they never match up to it. So yeah, you're absolutely right. You have to have an open mind.
I read somewhere today when I was researching for another podcast that in successful couples, usually one of them is the rock, the person that is there who will answer the problem, sort things out, and deal with any issues. And the other person is the star. They will show off, they're more extroverted, and they will go out there and do things. Do you agree with that or not?
That's interesting. I definitely agree with the fact that there has to be balance in a relationship. If you put two strong-willed type A people together, it's just not going to work. If you put two really quiet, introverted people together, it's not going to work. You have to have balance. And I've seen that in my own relationship as well. There's definitely, it's a dance. You have to balance each other out. And oftentimes, if you have a relationship for 10 or 20 years, sometimes the roles change. Sometimes it may start one way, and then there's some different life events that take place, and you kind of shift roles. And that's okay too. But yeah, I would agree with that.
You're right, you can't have two people who are the same, which is why I disagree sometimes with online dating sites that claim they will find someone who's just like you. And you do the 1 hour personality test where you have to fill in all the things that you think are important and who you are. But in reality, an extrovert and an introvert could have a really, really good relationship, or at least a fun date, couldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One personality test I would recommend that I often have my clients take is the Enneagram. Have you ever done that?
I've heard a bit about it, but not enough. Maybe you can tell me a bit more about it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's hard to box people in. The reason I like it is because it doesn't box you in. It gives you one main personality type and then kind of where you go at your best and where you go at your worst. And if you really study it and how it affects dating and relationships, there's not one type that's good for another. It doesn't box people in that way, but it helps you to understand your partner in a relationship, their strengths and their weaknesses and how to relate to them. So it's just a really interesting test. I would encourage you can Google it, find the Enneagram Institute and there's a test where you read, I think, 9 different paragraphs and choose which one sounds most like you. And it will give you a printout of all your personality traits.
I find people do that, they will often fill out the form in the way they want other people to think that they are, rather than how they really are. And when it comes to matchmaking, it's the same thing. People will describe themselves in a way they're trying to sell themselves. And in reality, we've all got our strengths and we've all got our weaknesses. So does it explore that as well?
Yeah, the great thing is it's not a form to fill out. It's literally just paragraphs you read and then you say which one relates best to you. So it's very hard to kind of play on that way of trying to sell yourself or say how you think you should be perceived. So it has good and bad in each paragraph. Same thing when I interview my clients, you're absolutely right. They try to sell themselves oftentimes or have me perceive them in a certain way. And so I've been doing this long enough. Sometimes I know you have to ask the same question 3 different ways to get to the bottom of it and to get the real answer. And that's why I think it's great too, if you're single and you're on your own, not enlisting a professional matchmaker, enlisting your friends because they know you, they know who you really are. So you're not going to fool them for sure.
You're not. I also think that some people who want to be their own matchmaker, they don't do this because they lack the confidence and they're just scared of being rejected. So people don't put themselves out there. They have walls around them to protect them from the world, and they don't go out there and get what they really, really want. How would you talk to somebody who needed advice on building their initial confidence to go out there and find somebody?
You know, what is the worst that can happen? You approach somebody, you say hello, and they're not single, they're not available, they don't go out with you. So what? Move on to the next one. Meeting people and connection, that's such an important part of our life. And I think this whole lockdown has showed us, all of us, just how important love and connection is. I think the people who are in really great relationships have really enjoyed spending time at home with their loved ones. And the people who are single and want a relationship, it's been a big wake up call. Like, oh my gosh, if the world shuts down for 3 months, who am I going to have here to share it with and laugh with and enjoy life with?
I've definitely noticed a big increase since lockdown of people coming to me who they want to find somebody, they made it a priority at last. Have you found that as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. I would say in March, things were really slow. And then ever since then, it's picked up because I think the way that we view the world has shifted. I know Americans, we work a lot. We're always rushing to meetings, rushing to networking events. We're always working and kind of putting our personal lives on the back burner. And I think there's been a huge shift in that culturally.
It's been the same here in the UK. People are working from home now and they are using Zoom, they're using their phones much more. And we've realised we don't really need to go out there and commute quite as much as we did. But this, of course, causes the one problem that if you are trying to find somebody, how do you go out there and actually date them in the real world? We had the whole virtual dating thing initially, and people have been a bit tired of that because they want to go out there and have a real connection. What would you say would be the best first date for somebody? Bearing in mind we're trying to be a bit cautious now and not to catch anything, what would you recommend someone did?
I think an outdoor date is perfect. I recommend to my clients, yeah, they have a Zoom or a FaceTime for their first meeting, but if there's a connection there, go meet outside. Find a patio where you can have a drink together outside. Go for a hike. If you both have dogs, go walk your dogs. Do something outdoors where you can have enough space and enough breathing room, but you can still see each other in person and get to know each other.
It's just a process, isn't it? It's starting it off. I think a virtual date or a phone call isn't a replacement for a real life date. It's just an initial one to set up a real date. And when you go out there, you go out for a picnic, you go for a walk. That is your first step of the ladder of getting to know each other. It doesn't mean that in 3 weeks' time you can't go for a meal somewhere or things might change. But take your time to get to know somebody. Many people like to rush into relationships. And I like to cover very quickly the topic of love bombing. Now it pops into my mind because many people have gone through that recently. They've been talking to somebody over lockdown and things have gone really, really well and things have accelerated at a much faster rate than they normally would do. And then suddenly the other person's lost interest. Have you experienced that yourself with clients?
Yeah, I think even prior to lockdown, right? Like sometimes people just rush into a relationship. I always coach clients that if somebody is moving so quickly at the beginning of the relationship, that's a huge red flag. Narcissism and all kinds of other things come into play. A lot of times people who just move too quickly. So I would say, I advise clients just like I would if we're not in lockdown, right? Like use caution, pay attention to the signs. And, depending on what the situation is, we definitely talk through those things.
Take your time. That's the general advice, isn't it?
Yeah, relationships that start fast end fast. And sometimes I remind clients of that.
They do. There's no rush to do anything. We might end up with another lockdown or lockdown in 6 months' time. If you're getting to know somebody, do it at your own pace that you're comfortable with. Don't do it at their pace. Don't feel pressured into doing anything you don't want to do at any speed that you don't want to take it that quickly. Slow it right down, and you're in control of this, especially if you are being your own matchmaker. Think about what you would say to someone that was watching you, and they're thinking, "Wow, are they taking control? Are they being led? What are they doing?" And when you're meeting someone, when you're dating, it's about having fun, trying new things, and just seeing what happens. Don't rush into anything, please.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Brilliant. Now, people are looking to meet people now, and they can't always afford to have a matchmaker, and maybe they've tried online dating and it didn't work out for them. So what advice would you give to somebody who is just starting now to look more seriously to meet a future partner?
Yeah, I would say starting with coaching is great. If you can't afford to hire a professional matchmaker, oftentimes a coach is more affordable in some ways. So finding a great coach to help even coach you with your online profile, that's a great starting point. Again, use caution. There's a lot of stuff that isn't so great online and on apps as well. So you have to weed through it. But if you have somebody to coach you and help you through that process, that's definitely a good starting point. And then even during lockdown, friends can be making connections for you. So definitely enlist your friends and family again to connect you with other people. You can start with texting, talking on the phone, FaceTime calls, and then go for in-person dates.
Absolutely agree. I think coaching is, even just have one or two sessions, it can make a whole world of difference.
Yeah.
Someone like me, I'm a coach. I work with people every day. I can help you build your online dating profile, set yourself in the right way, build your confidence up in a way maybe a friend wouldn't be able to do because they wouldn't get away with it. Things I get away with telling people, honestly, I have to be really firm sometimes because they're paying me a lot of money to be told the truth, but I do it in a nice way so I can help them. But there are, like anything in life, there are some really dodgy companies out there, dodgy matchmaking companies, and some dodgy coaches who have come and they put a few Google AdWords out there and they're claiming to be these coaches and matchmakers and professionals. And they might charge a lot less money than we do, but in reality, you're going to get what you pay for. You're going to get an amateur and have really poor, low quality results. So do it for yourself. If you're your own matchmaker, work out what you really want. What advice would you give to somebody who doesn't really know what sort of person they want to date? How important is it to have requirements and deal breakers and those sort of things?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely important. Everyone should think of that. Again, you don't want to prejudge people. You want to have an open mind. I always tell people think of your must-haves, like at their core. What does this person have to have in terms of values to be what you want? And then think of your nice-to-haves. And nice to have would be like, oh, he's 6'2". That'd be nice, but does that mean you couldn't fall in love with somebody 5'10"? No, absolutely not. So absolutely have your list in mind, but just make sure you're flexible with that list as well.
I agree. Just have a few things on this list, the most important things to you. But life is about adapting. Life is about seeing what's new and seeing what other things might test you. Try some new things and just see what might come out of it. Now, supposing that somebody has started dating, how do they know that person is really into them?
So this is an interesting question because depending on their personality type, they may express it a lot of different ways. I'm sure you're familiar with the 5 love languages.
Mhm.
And so sometimes if his love language is acts of service, he may invite you over to cook dinner for you. He may go take your car to get washed for you. You know, there may be some very clear signs that he's into you. Sometimes it might be a little more difficult to decipher. So I would just say pay attention. Both women and men listen to your instincts. Usually what your gut is telling you is spot on. Also, get an outsider's perspective. Friends and family, oftentimes they're looking at things through a different lens and they see things that maybe you're missing on the inside. So if you have questions that are nagging, ask somebody close to you what they think, ask for their opinion.
I agree, that's always good advice. Ask somebody and see what they have to say. And just the very act of talking to somebody, whether they're professional or not, is going to help you. It's going to clear the air and get out what's burning you up and what's eating you up inside. Now, during lockdown, lots of people have been interacting. They have been talking, they've been virtual dating, they've been using their apps, they've been match-made, and they are nervous now because they've almost committed to somebody, but they're not quite sure what else might be out there if they're the one for them. So what are your thoughts on multi-dating, as in dating lots of people initially?
I think it's okay to date several people in the beginning. Once you found somebody who really checks the boxes for you, you have to be aware of the bigger, better deal syndrome, where you're constantly swiping or looking for the next best thing. You think this person in front of me is great, but there might be someone even better. You have to really coach yourself through that mentality. That doesn't work. You know, there's always going to be somebody else. But at some point, you have to decide if this is somebody you truly care about, you have a connection with, give that person a chance. Let that relationship develop, because if you don't, if you're constantly looking for the bigger, better deal, you're really going to miss out.
That can happen a lot with dating apps. People get addicted to them and they're always swiping away for the next person, not putting their full effort and energy into this. So again, if you want to be your own matchmaker, maybe just stick to one dating app at a time. Stick to getting to know one person every couple of weeks and leave it at that. Don't keep getting to know new people. I think it is useful to have more than one option available to you initially, And that way you're not waiting around for one person to text you or panicking if he or she hasn't contacted you. Because that happens a lot initially. You're not sure what their response rate is going to be like, and you start panicking and you get worried and you get paranoia and you get jealous and you don't even know these people yet. So I think definitely go out there and date a few people to start with. But you're right, don't keep swiping or dismissing people thinking that someone better is out there. Because like we said earlier on, there is no perfect match, there is no perfect person. And we don't even know ourselves what our strengths are. So that's a good question in itself. How would you say to somebody that they can work out what their strengths are when it comes to dating?
Yeah, I always, again, go to friends and family. Often when I'm interviewing clients, I don't say, tell me about yourself. I say, let's imagine I'm sitting down in a room with your brother, your mother, your best friend. What are they going to tell me I need to know about you? And if you look at it from that perspective, from how the rest of the world sees you, usually that paints a pretty clear picture.
It does. Just, we've all got strengths, we've all got things, but it's not just maybe you're good at piano, maybe you're good with children, you're a good cook. But think about exactly what that might mean. If you're a good cook, what meals do you like cooking? What do you like experimenting with? These are all conversation topics to have with people. And again, to put in your dating profile or in fact your matchmaking profile. People write generic stuff like, I like spending time with my family and friends, which is just, I hate that phrase, to be honest. Or I like going out and staying in, or everyone's staying in right now. But think about what you like doing when you like staying in. Would you play board games? Do you play computer games? Do you drink lots of wine? Whatever it might be, think about it and go into it. Because if you're going to be your own matchmaker, you've got to know yourself properly. Because you can't sell yourself. This is all about selling yourself because you're the product here. You're the product that you're advertising. And as a matchmaker, as a dating coach, it's our job to make sure that we sell you in the right way. So the world is obviously changing right now. The rules are changing and everything that's gone in the past is now gone. People are more grateful. People are giving people more serious opportunities now. So what do you think is happening next? What is the future of dating?
You know, it's interesting. I think that dating is really going to continue to be more of a priority for people. I think it's shifted where work is kind of on the back burner now and their personal lives have come to the forefront. And I think we'll continue to see that trend. I think a lot of people are craving connection because we've spent more time in our homes than we're used to. And so I think even 6 months from now, you know, who knows what will be going on with this virus. But I think in our personal lives, it's been a big wake up call for a lot of people. I think we'll continue to make love and connection a priority.
It's all good, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. There's always that silver lining, and that's really one of the things that has come out of this pandemic is people really shifting and taking their personal lives to the forefront and really seeking love and connection in a real way, not just, you know, all those people that were just dating, you know, going on 20 dates a month with 20 different people, you know, they're done. It's really people looking at their love lives and thinking, oh my gosh, at the end of the day, you know, who do I have to come home to? And right now I'm not even leaving my home. So who do I have to share my home with? It's really about who you have to share your life with.
People have always been quite lonely and loneliness was always increasing. But now I think what's happened is lonely people are still lonely, but they're doing something about it. They're taking action at last. This has forced people to do something and made them realise, do you know what? There really are people out there in the same boat as me. They're lonely as well, and when you find someone wonderful through a matchmaker, through a dating coach, through an online dating app, you're going to realise, wow, I've got someone now. And then you won't be lonely ever again, hopefully.
Absolutely.
So with that in mind, I've got my own 6 top tips on being your own matchmaker. I'm just going to read them out quickly. And Amber, I'd love to get your thoughts on them afterwards.
Okay, great.
So number 1, these aren't in order, by the way. Number 1, before you start doing anything, look at yourself and work out how you can be the best version of you possible. Because like I said before, you are the product, you are selling yourself. What do you have to offer? What are your strengths? What makes you so special? What makes you dateable? Have a good think about that. And then you can go out there and people will be attracted to that and they'll resonate with them. And the next thing that goes on from that, get yourself a makeover if you can. Get a new haircut, get a new wardrobe, start again. You're ready to do this. If you've got old clothes, throw them away, give them to charity. Get yourself ready, rebooted, resuited, and ready to meet someone wonderful. Number 3, have a little think about exactly the sort of person you want to meet. Now, we said before, don't be too strict on this, but you need some idea. What sort of person do you want? Do you want a professional? Do you want someone that's creative, someone that's kind, someone that's good with animals? Whatever it might be, think about it and just write the list down. But don't look at this list every single day. They're just guidelines. It's just a starting point. In the same way you want to get a car, you might do some initial research on the car. What sort of car do you want? What colour do you want? What type of engine does it have? It doesn't need to be too perfect. Just think about it in some little way. And by doing that, you'll attract back 10 times the amount of connections by just having that in your mind to start with. The next thing is to accept every opportunity that comes your way. Now, maybe someone will invite you to a barbecue, to a picnic in the park. Go out there. You don't know who you're going to meet. Even if you're slightly introverted, go out there and accept the opportunities and see who might be out there. And again, explore all the options that you get. Maybe you can do online dating. You can speak to a matchmaker like Amber. You can do a dating coaching session with someone like me. Just go out there and see what there is. Have some fun with this. And finally, I want you to give people a chance. Don't just reject someone based on their height or their looks initially. Give them a chance and get to know them properly over time. The only way you can be your own matchmaker is to work out what that person has to offer, because you're going to make a real connection. The longer you spend talking to somebody, the more likely you are to like them and to get on and to have a long, successful relationship. Amber, what are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think looking at every opportunity, being open to every opportunity, absolutely great advice.
Thank you. So there we go. I think that's lots of information for my listeners now. So if somebody is in America and they want to find a partner and looking for a matchmaker, how would they find you?
Yeah, you can visit our website, which is selectdatesociety.com. We're also on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn at Select Date Society. I'm on all those platforms as well.
Brilliant. I hope my listeners reach out to you and you get lots of people interested in your wonderful services. I think you've been in the industry over 20 years, and that says a lot, because some people come and go, and some of us have been doing this a long time, and we're the ones that are trustworthy and know what we're talking about, as hopefully we've been proving to you during the course of this podcast. Amber, thank you very much for joining me. It has been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to give you a free copy of my latest book, which you can download right now from my website, jamespreece.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could share the love by taking a few seconds to write a positive review on the iTunes store right now. See you next time.